the future holds for me is, I got 3 amazing children. I got tons of people that in the last 2 years, friends that become like my family. I got guys that look up to me, and my son looks up to me. A little funny story is, I remember when I first got into the halfway house, I had to go home into a storage unit. I went to the storage unit, and I was married for 22 years, and the storage places, everything was in boxes and under tarps. And it was just overwhelming to me. So I sat down on the floor and I was crying, and Nate asked me what was the matter. And I told him my whole life's in boxes. And he kind of nudged me with his foot and he says, "Dad, I'm not in no box." So I work at Nick's Ride. I'm a peer advocate, and I also run a combat recovery program in the basement where I work. I'm a peer advocate at the jail, and I run groups up there. It's come full circle because I was in that jail 2 years ago, So I get to go in there 3-4 days a week. So I go in there and show them guys, like some of those guys I was in there with, right? We were playing spades and betting ramen noodle soups, to show them that anything's possible. To get all the tools that you need, right? Get all the tools, whether you guys get them here, get them in rehab or counseling. You want to pack your toolbox full of tools. And then you get the knowledge of what tool to use at the right time. It's the application of what we know, not what we know, right? Knowledge is powerful. Knowledge is useless if we don't use it. So let's talk gratitude.
I had broken my collarbone in senior year, my last football game, and then I was prescribed pain pills, and then I dabbled with pain pills for a couple years, and then that eventually graduated to heroin, and then it led me into stupid stuff. I got into fights, going to jail. I think jail and combat recovery definitely saved my life. Definitely. There's been a lot of times where I have almost died, and it's and it's like life or death at this point. And I finally have realized that I can't safely use. It's not practical. It's not feasible. It's not a lifestyle that you can sustain. Feels good. I gotta, I have a life. I built my relationships back with my family, my friends. It's like, I don't know. It really does. This has really changed my life.
Towards the end of my career, I got hurt. And it's a rough sport, right? It's not the ballet. I got hurt, and I hurt my shoulder pretty bad. I got on some Oxycontins, and before I knew it, I was addicted to them things. I fell back into drinking, and then in a 5-year period, I lost everything. I lost my gym. I was involved in a couple of fight promotions, that fell through. Lost my house. My wife left me. Ended up in a pretty dark spot in my life.
So Randy, as a peer, has lived experience, and we have a number of other peers, not just here at the jail, but within our community with that lived experience. As you mentioned, that they're able to talk the talk, and I think that people that are struggling, they recognize that right away, that this is somebody that's been in my shoes. They've struggled like I'm struggling now, and it gives them credibility. And Randy certainly has that.
Half the round's over. Let's go. I want that left hand up. Don't drop it again. We'll give you a push up. Left up.
Randy's doing an incredible job with combat recovery, and I'm just glad to see that success that he's having, and really the success that our community's having by supporting that program and supporting Nick's Ride for Friends.
during my journey in recovery, like I related a lot recovery to fighting because they're very, very similar, right? Like, you know, like you hear in the movies all the time, like Rocky Balboa used to say it best, right? Like it's not how hard you can hit always, but it's about how hard you can be hit and still go forward. As we get more in recovery, we learn ways to prevent ourselves from getting hit as much. Stand up. Stand up. I don't know if I'm changing other people's lives. I know that like this past 2 years, I've changed my life. And if along the way, if I could help other people, you know, that's a bonus, right? Because like what they say in the recovery circles, we can only keep what we have by giving it away. You know, and they're not expecting something back, you know what I mean? And like helping these guys, you know, it does help me, you know what I mean? So I'd like to think that maybe I'm helping them change their lives, but like it's what we can't do alone, we can do together, right? Like they're the ones changing their lives, like I'm just coaching them, you know what I mean? I'm coming up with game plans, you know? I was at the detox hospital up here in Auburn, and I pulled my IVs out, and I took a cab, and I went home, and I got a bunch of booze, and I just started drinking like an insane amount of booze, and I decided that night that I didn't want to live no more. So I called the police station, the sheriff's department, 911 or whatever, and I told them that I had a gun and I was going to end my life. And I was really heavily under the influence. So I sat down in the chair and I passed out. When I woke up, I heard some noise. I looked out the window, there was cops everywhere. And you know, my plan was I had a gun and I was going to run out on the porch and get shot by a cop, and that'd be a wrap, right? Like, you know, I didn't have enough courage or balls or whatever you want to call it to do it myself, so I wanted somebody else to do it. So I grabbed the gun, I ran out on the porch, and you know, nothing happened. Then I go back inside, I didn't get shot, you know, and now what, right? Like, I don't know, I mean, I was in the bad spot, right? And I didn't really have a plan B. I mean, I didn't only have one beer left. You know, so anyway, I ended up getting coached out of the house, and I got taken into custody August 22nd, and that was the last day that I've ever took any other substance. So I got 2 years sober, completely sober from drugs and alcohol, and that was it seemed like my darkest day, you know. But like that was like God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, you know, because that's where my journey really started. I think the reason why the cops didn't shoot me on that porch that day is because I had somebody else with me, you know. That wasn't part of the plan.